minute think that this is an isolated incident. This is how slaves are treated. You don't really think that slaves get treated nicely, do you? You really think white people were nice when they shipped black people over here on ships? You don't think Nazis were nice when they walked Jews and gypsies into the gas chambers, do you? And this happens because you want to buy those products. Yeah, that guy's a scumbag for doing that. But he's doing that because you want to eat what comes out of her body. And enough already. You're not a caveman and you're not a cavewoman anymore. Stop acting like Neanderthals. This is 2010. Give it up. It's not cute and it's not funny because animals are being abused. It is not your right, it is not your freedom to do this to them. You don't get to have freedom when somebody else doesn't. That's a violation.
Welcome to the Trashcats Trashcast. I'm Richard.
I'm Steven.
And today we're entering into the mind of a mink thief.
A thief of minks.
And listening to a speech that changed hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people's lives.
Before introducing our speaker, I just want to preface. I strongly feel that any person who can change the world so dramatically with just their words is someone worth hearing. Whether it's Hitler, Gandhi, Trump, or MLK, I think it's important to hear their words, even if it's just to understand why they're wrong, what they got right, and why other people identify with the things they said. While our speaker may not be as influential as the previously mentioned, his words and this speech in particular affected a lot of people. On March 30th, 1997, Gary Yourofsky, along 4 members of the Animal Liberation Front, or the ALF, raided a fur farm in Ontario, Canada, and released 1,542 minks. The raid reportedly caused damage estimated at 500,000 Canadian dollars to the farm. Yourofsky was arrested, tried, and sentenced to 6 months in Canadian maximum security prison in 1999. The experience affected Yourofsky, who said, quote, "He was no more than an animal in a zoo. It wasn't pleasant, and that it reinforced his empathy and understanding of what these animals go through."
Gary Yourofsky was, and in many ways still is, an immensely influential figure in the vegan community, and is credited with converting hundreds of thousands of people to veganism. While he initially started his activist career by engaging in acts of civil disobedience, he eventually abandoned this method of activism in favor of an education-based approach. He gave tens of thousands of students lectures across the United States, with some of them being recorded and becoming viral. His Georgia Tech speech, which we're about to listen to, is said to have converted as much as 8% of Israel's population to veganism, from 5% to 13%.
That's wild.
Yeah. However, this claim is suspect and difficult to confirm directly. The original video of the speech quickly gained millions of views and has been translated into tens of different languages. He spent years crafting, fine-tuning, and touring his speech at universities across the U.S., and with the help of the internet. At one point, he was one of the world's biggest spokespersons for veganism.
With all of that said, let's hear how this man convinced so many people to stop eating animals. Let the record reflect that this is the 2010 version of the Georgia Tech speech titled, "The Most Important Speech You Will Ever Hear."
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Gary Yourofsky. Please take a moment and jot down my email address and my website in case you want to contact me later on.
My boy Gary giving out
Today
emails.
We're going to talk about the world's forgotten victims, animals, and the world's oldest and strongest addiction, meat. I'm going to challenge your belief systems today, so certain parts of the speech will be intense. But let me start with a quick disclaimer. I am not here to be your enemy. The views expressed today do not necessarily reflect the views of your professor or this institution. I am not trying to take you away from your religion. No religion mandates meat eating.
What's your first impression?
He seems like a chill dude.
Dude. He's got a little accent.
He definitely has I think he's approaching it from the right direction of like, I'm not trying to tell you that, you know, like, I guess the religion thing is the big one, is like, I'm not trying to change I'm not here going to like make you make this decision. I'm not trying to force you to do anything.
Which I think is good, convincing speech, but in reality, any activist of any sort, and in particular vegan activists, you are trying to do everything but tell them what to do to convince them to change their mind.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's fair, and I think it's also to approach with this kind of attitude is the good way of like, it's going to keep people listening. It's going to keep people from turning off and shutting down immediately.
I feel like he comes across as strong, but there's a bit of the phony, I'm going to figure out a way to convince you at any cost. Like, there's a vibe of that. He's doing good, so it's a good start.
I mean,
though.
he sounds like a salesman.
Yeah, he's doing good, though.
The golden rule states, do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. Animals qualify as others.
As others.
And thou shalt not kill. The four most important yet most ignored words in all religious teachings. There's not an asterisk next to that commandment saying, unless you walk on all fours, have fur, feathers, horns, beaks, or gills. You can keep your friends, your politics, and your patriotism, still watch your favorite TV shows and listen to your favorite music, even if it's Ted Nugent. I'll be making some sarcastic yet truthful comments throughout the speech. Please feel free to laugh while I'm being sarcastic. Just don't laugh during the serious parts. Now, I'm going to speak for around 65, maybe 70 minutes, but then we'll do
So he's trying to convince us, we don't really have to change that much.
Yeah.
At least our religions don't dictate this.
Yeah.
I would argue he's
owner, victim,
asking something
profit,
big, though.
Domination, exclusive to the human race. Have blacks, Jews, women, and children been the only victims of this atrocity? Have not cows been enslaved? What about pigs, chickens, turkeys, fish, sheep? If they're not enslaved, then what are they? Free? Can slavery have a victim that is neither human nor animal? Have not the oceans, the forests, the earth itself become victims of ownership too?
I like this attack angle, but
because it's an extreme.
Yeah, but it's a good way, I feel like, to be convincing. But this almost reminds me of Judith Thompson in the self-defense. I feel like he's missing the basic building block that people who aren't vegan, part of it, they don't want to, we're not vegans, for the record, going into this. I think we're approaching it with an open mind because we've talked about this before. We both identify and respect parts of veganism, but it's not how we have chosen to live our lives. Right?
Yeah. I think he is setting up a preface, though. I think he's setting up the kind of building block of like, keep this in mind as we go forward. But he didn't say that specifically, but that's what he's doing.
But what I wanted to get that the fundamental block he's missing is like the average non-vegan doesn't feel like it is genocidal or slavery or any of those bad things because they don't value animal consciousness on the same level as human, or how
true
in which way other vegans do, where like all consciousnesses are equal. So
that is correct.
It's like he's starting on a completely different worldview than the average audience member.
Right.
Like if someone's already bought in that animal consciousness is as valuable as an enslaved human, then they would be crazy not to be vegan.
Right.
And what about a slaughterhouse? House of slaughter. Slaughterhouse. Do you really think there's such a thing as humane slaughter? Exactly what is your definition of humane? Besides psychological and physical abuse, torture, dismemberment,
Well, why would we treat
and
animals
murder,
humanely? Is
what
the
else do you think happens to animals inside a
normie
slaughterhouse?
question.
Right.
You think they get belly rubs and tushy slaps? And if you think there's such a
I
thing
think the
as
idea is that
humane
we act
slaughter,
humane.
I'm curious, do you also
To be
think there's such a
humane.
thing
Yeah,
as
exactly.
humane rape?
Yeah.
Humane child molestation? Humane slavery? How about a humane Holocaust? In fact, what is your definition of a Holocaust? Is it a massacre of human beings or a massacre of innocent beings? I thought it was innocent, which brings us to the biggest Holocaust massacre of all. Every year in America, without mercy, we murder 10 billion land animals and 18 billion marine animals.
Jesus.
Not for health, survival,
it's a lot.
sustenance, or self-defense. People eat meat, cheese, milk, and eggs for 4 reasons. Habit, tradition, convenience, taste.
Yeah, he's about to give his 4. I mean, taste is for sure one of the 4. These are like the big 4 points that get mentioned in these debates a lot. But I was going to say his reasoning of, do we kill things because they're human, because they're innocent, whatever. I know I've mentioned this before, that this is why in debates about veganism or consciousness or like humane treatment of any kind, police brutality, if you argue that we can still kill animals as long as it's done super humanely, that argument is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who understands those arguments can tear it up so easily. Like if you're like,
Right.
oh, we can kill animals, but we just have to do it kindly. That's a terrible argument.
Right, of course.
So now he's going to go into the 4 big reasons people don't want to be vegan, basically.
I want to define a word that might be new to some people right now, and it's vegan. It's up there on the screen, V-E-G-A-N. Vegans, like vegetarians, do not consume the meat of any land or marine animal. Vegans, however, unlike vegetarians, also refrain from eating cheese, milk, eggs, honey, or any animal product whatsoever. We also don't wear animal skins, no fur, leather, wool, silk, or down. Now I want to let y'all know that I was not raised vegan. I ate meat, cheese, milk, and eggs for around 25 years. I used to wear leather shoes and belts and jackets like everyone else. In fact, around 20 years ago, I even owned a fur coat.
Whoa.
Needless to say, I understand your
Fur
lifestyle.
coats are shitty.
It
Yeah.
used to be mine.
My girlfriend would love a fur
People
coat,
involved
and I
in
told her last
politics.
night when talking about this,
Let's
I
get
would
this
be
out of
too
the way
ashamed to
right
go out
now.
if she wore one.
I am not a Democrat.
It's
an
just
anarchist.
unnecessarily
So hippie
cruel.
with a
I mean,
closet
would you
full
be
of
happy with a
tie-dye shirts.
fake fur
I'm
coat?
not a Republican.
No, she's a psycho.
socialist, or a fascist. I'm an
Love you, Sarah.
activist. Root word is active. I've been banned from 5 countries so far and arrested 13 times for random acts of kindness and compassion on behalf of my animal brothers and sisters. If you want to read up about that, check out my website. And today, I would love to give you a chance to actually do something and truly get involved.
He is a bad little boy. Okay,
Is he banned in 5 countries?
arrested a lot of times. I know most of the stuff he did is peaceful, non-violent.
Mhm.
As a kid, I idolized the ALF, the Animal Liberation Front, because old school internet days, they were like the goth kids jihad. They were like
Yeah.
real terrorists. Like they went around and they liberated animals, but they also would burn down research labs and commit a lot of violence, mainly to property, but they threatened a lot of people's lives. So his background is with these people. Like he is like the real deal, where in the years since then, he said he's came to realizations that the answers through education opposed to specific acts of violence or freeing animals, because that's a very limited scope when you could try to convince more people. And compared to most speakers in general, he changed a lot of people's minds. He's kind of an exception to that, but it's pretty interesting to hear from someone that's like actually done some pretty wild shit on the behalf of animals.
Yeah, this is the equivalent of black metal artists, instead of burning down churches and shit, going and having debates and conversations with people about atheism and the effects of religion
after having burnt down a lot.
Yeah, after a lifetime of burning down churches.
Because I understand a lot of people want to get involved. Honestly, I do. But putting a coexist bumper sticker on your car, wearing a "What Would Jesus Do" bracelet, or sporting a peace and love and sunshine t-shirt,
he's calling them phonies.
That's not getting involved. I understand that we're all on a journey in life. We all have different likes and dislikes, different nationalities and religions.
He's a good speaker.
But there's
for sure.
one thing that we need to have in common with each other, and that's peace. Genuine compassion and genuine peace for our planetary companions.
You can tell he's done this speech
Contrary
1,000
to political
times.
Yeah.
and religious dogma, animals do not belong to us. They are not commodities. They're not property, and they're not inanimate, stupid objects who can't think and feel. That Descartes Cartesian way of looking at animals like they're machines, it is outdated and, quite frankly, 100% insane. Because if we all understand that animals can use their eyes to see, ears to hear, noses to smell,
Correct.
mouths to eat, legs to walk, feathers to fly, fins to swim, genitalia to procreate, bowels
Goddamn right.
to defecate. I'm always perplexed that most people don't believe that they can also use their brains to think, feel, be rational, be aware, and be self-aware.
Okay, buddy. So that is a big leap to say, okay, we know animals can use their body parts. We literally don't know to what extent they can use their brain. Now, I agree with him in a lot of ways. Like, yeah. I've said, I think I'm acting against my morals in a lot of ways by eating animals. But I also feel some degree of naturalism as a greater animal, that I shouldn't be concerned about eating the lesser animals. I feel a real split in the duality of that. And I overall feel that I'm acting against my morals to some degree. And as a person who loves animals and loves my cat, I also feel like it's pretty shitty to own a cat, because I don't own the cat. It's also just, I don't know, like our life relationship. Like I can agree it's wrong, but that it's also just how the world has been organized, how nature has manifested.
Yeah, I think we've discussed this before, of course, but the idea of eating meat is definitely hypocritical to our moral system, but I think not eating meat, but like I think the main issue is less with the fact that we are eating another animal, more with the fact that the way that we get said product. I think especially
that's the
for
bad
me,
argument.
I think especially for me, like the thing that makes it feel dirty and wrong is not that another animal is dying so that I may eat. It's more that it's a rampant system of.
I don't believe you.
This is my opinion on it. What do you mean you don't believe me?
If you had to kill the pig yourself and you laid down beside it, you gave it some sleepy time tea, and you got it all cozy and tucked it under the covers, but then you still had to slowly, gently plunge a knife into its chest and bleed it out, would that feel better?
So that's what I'm saying is like the thing is like I'm not against the idea of eating meat if you are willing to do that. If you're willing to like have an animal and do that, it feels more morally good, more morally true to do that than to, support just factory machines.
I agree. It feels better, but I this was my point.
Like I don't
earlier.
I absolutely buy meat products and eat Taco Bell
but wouldn't it still feel wrong? Like it's one of those things where it still breaks the fun of just like if we can kill them, why can't we fuck them? It's that same argument of like just because we kill them in a extra heinous way that most people do feel is bad, but we accept. How would killing them in a nicer way be any better?
I think it's more about not killing them in a nicer way, but ensuring a quality of life before they are killed.
I don't think that changes. I think that's what I was saying earlier. That's where I feel like it's one of those bad arguments because it still like falls to I agree it is better, but it's one of those things if we ultimately think killing it to eat is bad, I don't think it matters if you like do it less and give them a better quality of life and do all the things that like ease our consciousness. You're still ultimately doing the same thing.
Let's say this: you have an ox, okay. And said ox, you have a farm, and the ox, you go fucking old school with it, and you use the ox to help you plow the fields, and it's domesticated animal, whatever, but like you feed it good grains and beer and you massage the ox, you care for the ox is your friend.
Sure.
He lives a long and healthy life. When he starts to get old and he's no longer able to work the field, he kind of grazes around a little bit. And then when he's old and dying, do you, as someone who's, resourceful, would you put whatever he's whether you put him down or he's like on his death's door, what's the plan? Like, are you going to eat him or are you going to just bury him?
Yeah, well, when the ox is sick and dying, how long do you keep an ox on life support?
Yeah,
it's that same question. My point of view or my argument to Gary would be, I'm going to kill the ox because I don't believe we're good people. That just because it is a bad thing to do doesn't mean it's not something that is in our nature or something we shouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine someone that goes to the extremes he has would say that killing it to eat it is always going to be wrong. Maybe he wouldn't keep it on life support forever, but to raise animals for the sole goal of consuming is always going to be wrong, even if you do it really kind. Even if you do, like, you get rid of the meat farms and stuff, but we still choose to buy a pampered cow once a year.
Because in doing so, that animal is enslaved.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's why I was saying earlier, we both agree, but I'm going to buff his arguments that, for the sake of argument, that even if I agree that how you would handle the animal industry is, in fact, way better.
Mm-hmm.
And he would disagree with it. While we agree with it, it still breaks the principle.
Right.
Am I supposed to believe that every body part on an animal functions just like it's supposed to? Except the brain?
So he's doing intelligent design,
Those
basically.
lies are thick.
Mm-hmm.
The propaganda from the animal abusers is enormous.
But we
when
know
was the
their
last
brains
time
aren't
you
the
turned
same.
on TV
Maybe.
and saw a
I
commercial
don't know.
for shiitake mushrooms?
We don't
People
actually
singing
know.
and dancing down the streets, having a good time,
But we kinda
eating
know.
mushrooms. How about alfalfa sprouts?
We know now that they're definitely more emotionally intelligent. Most animals are emotionally more intelligent than we give them credit for.
The thing is we always compare consciousness,
You don't see that stuff advertised
of
on
our
TV. What
form
do you
of
see instead?
consciousness
Have some more
to
meat, have some more cheese, have some more
a
cheese.
lesser
When you eat
consciousness.
cheese, double
But
cheese,
what if
extra
an
cheese,
animal's
how about a
consciousness,
little more
instead of
cheese with
a
your
different
meat?
degree,
Have some
it's a
more
different
cow's milk,
kind?
have some
What if
more
a
eggs?
dolphin's
And
consciousness
what
is
do you
just
see
fundamentally
interspersed between
different?
those
I mean, there's that, but there's
Not
also
feeling
like
so well?
the ability
Need
to
see a cancer
see what
specialist?
areas
How
of
about
your
a heart
brain are
doctor?
triggered
Need
when
some Lipitor?
faced with
Go
certain.
for Crestor, Plavix. Need some diet pills? How about some energy
Sorry, I was
drinks?
listening for a second.
Some kaopectate.
When you're faced with certain
Tums.
stimulation, whether it's
Pepto-Bismol.
an emotional reaction or whatever, like your brain fires in certain ways, and similar tracking can be found in
Yeah.
animals.
But
Those blinders are on nice
for all
tight.
we know, their
But
brains
if you give me an
experience
open mind
that
today, that's
very
all I ask
differently
for,
than
an
us
open
still.
mind. I'm going to take your blinders right off.
He's taking the blinders
My
off.
goal is simple. All I
He's
want
opening
to
our
do
eyes.
is
We're about to be woke.
reconnect people with animals. Awaken some emotions and some feelings and some logic that has been buried and suppressed intentionally by our society.
Somebody called DeSantis. He's about to
I
woke
say
us.
reconnect. It's because each and every person in this room used to be a real animal rights person at one time, a true animal lover, and a
I
real
do agree
friend
with this
to the
line of
animal kingdom.
argument. Where, like,
That's when we were
as kids, we were all more in touch with nature, and it's kind of bred out of us by society.
When we were young, when we were kids, man, we used to be in awe of animals. They used to make us laugh and giggle and smile. They made us pretty happy. And there was a time in our lives when we would do just about anything in the world to make them happy as well.
True.
To protect them from cruelty. Or to at least acknowledge the cruelty they were receiving. I mean, if somebody was mean to an animal in front of us when we were little, we would have screamed.
There's part of that's
and
true,
cried.
but kids also abuse
That's
animals for
because we all
fun.
used to
Yeah.
understand right from
Look
wrong
at Dahmer.
when it came to the treatment of animals.
But even normal
Until somebody
kids.
told
Yeah,
us
I know.
and taught us
Yeah.
Extreme.
differently. You better believe somebody told us to ignore their suffering, to mock and excuse their pain and their misery, to make fun of their very existence. And this is something I want you to focus on today, tomorrow, and beyond. What in the hell happened along the way?
We lost our
Who
innocence.
taught us to be so mean and nasty and vicious and hateful or indifferent towards animals when they used to be our friends?
But that's also human
These are
nature.
innocent beings who have done
Of an
nothing
adult.
wrong to us. Because I'm pretty sure we can all agree in at least one thing right now, that hatred in its purest form is a learned behavior.
Okay. We just had this discussion last week. I feel like he fell into a trap of his own design.
He activated his own trap card.
It's such a, like, ignorant woke point to say that all hatred is inherently taught. Like, that's so it's childish to think.
I think there are parts of it that you could. I think you could, to say that it all entirely 100% is taught is false, but I would argue that most of it is, at least.
No, dude. His argument is basically that there's so many similarities with Christianity. Like Adam and Eve were all, well, I guess it's the opposite. I'm thinking before the apple was eaten. We come into this world perfect and pure, and innocent, and all the badness that happens to us is from ourselves, from other humans corrupting us. And it's like, I don't know why. I feel like it's a naive assumption to think that we are inherently good and learn to do wrong.
I agree with that. I feel that there's always a thing of like, when you experience anything new or different than you're used to, there's hesitance. What the difference is being taught to embrace that hesitance, embrace that new thing, or to be afraid of it. That is I think more often a taught thing.
It is more often taught, but that doesn't mean it's inherently taught. Like if you have one kid who is blue and they run into a group of kids who are purple, like we can say they were taught something by their society, by their parents or whatever, but there is going to be those fears or pushback or aggression, like whatever it is, even just because people are different and kids aren't fully innocent and people are shitty to each other.
I mean,
people are good to each other too.
True, but like, I didn't know what racism was when I was really little. Like in kindergarten, like.
But it doesn't need the title.
Right, but like I didn't understand that was a thing. I didn't understand the concept that existed as a thing.
But there were still groups of kids that stuck together. Like it's still like, I'm not saying I want it to be that way.
Right, but I'm saying it didn't. That definitely did not occur to me. Other than like, these are my friends, I hang out with my friends. But it wasn't like that wasn't a taught thing. That wasn't a thing that was, I don't know, that just, it wasn't understood that there is a difference between them and I. Like, I'm sure I saw it. I saw a physical difference, sure, maybe, but like, it was not I don't know. Like,
here's the example then. In a vacuum, the world is split into two halves. And we have full separate societies that don't know each other on opposite sides of the world. And one day, the world splits and the two sides of the world crash together. Very easily, I could see a version where like, there's trade and people start having sex and becoming like one nation, everything works great. But there's also another world of like, it's easier for things to go wrong and the two sides to not get along or go to war, where they could not know that there were other people different than them and the hate couldn't have been taught, but that just by nature, people fear the unknown or the different.
I do think you're right that people fear what they don't understand, but I
just don't think we can blame it all on teaching. Like, there is an element of like, even if it's just like humans can be shitty, it doesn't all have to be taught. I think most of the time it is, but that it's like a weak excuse to say like, oh, we only eat animals because we're taught. We only have racism because we're taught. We only, like, not that some of this is just the nature of being human. I'll even go 50-50, but that's not what he's arguing. That's not what most people who use that line argue.
That is true. I feel like the idea of, and it's not about like understanding differences. I think from a core beginning, if you teach a child to be hesitant about certain things, about experiencing new things or like accepting change or different things, that is the same as it, that leads into teaching them to be more accepting, to embracing meeting new people and new cultures and new shit like that. Like that's part of that.
I agree, but I'm arguing if you didn't teach them anything, that 50% of the time, they still would have the bad parts. They still would have the fear or whatever.
I think that number comes from, like, where do you get that figure from?
I'm being generous. He's arguing it's almost pure. I forget his exact words, but that hatred and all those things are taught. Choosing to eat animals is not a natural thing. It's a taught thing. And instead of arguing that that is completely wrong and fully natural that people have those parts of them, I'm saying I'll even go half and half, that he's half right, but to not acknowledge that it is also natural would be completely wrong. And I'm saying I'll throw it at 50%.
Yeah, well, okay, especially in the world of eating animals, there's so much of an evolutionary factor on that.
That's my point. Yeah.
Racism, sexism, heterosexism, anti-Semitism, misogyny. These are all learned behaviors. When kids are 2, 3, 4 years old playing on a playground, they could care less about the color of their friend's skin or the religious background.
50% of the time.
I don't think there's any doubt that hatred in its purest form is learned. So speciesism is no different.
Speciesism.
This could be a new word to a lot of people. It's up here on the screen, right below vegan. It's the word species, with an ism attached to it. And I want to define this word as the unethical, unprincipled point of view that the human species has every right to exploit, enslave, and murder another species. And all because we believe that our species is so more special, so more superior than the other ones. We're the only ones that count, and we're the only ones that matter. Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
That was a good sip of his cup.
But that line of thinking, that thought process, that is the basis of all forms of discrimination. One group saying and thinking they're more special than everyone else, and they proceed to exploit them, oppress them.
I think there's a lot of fear too, though.
Free. They treat them like property. They enslave them in many cases, and in many other cases, they murder them with premeditation.
I agree.
And without penalty. And understand something essential about discrimination. It is never okay to be picking and choosing which forms of discrimination to be opposed to.
I don't know.
So I want to say about the fear thing. Like, I think that's definitely a part of it. Of like, what if? I mean, we do it with like social, like a geopolitical politics shit now. It's like, well, like if we act on them, they might act on us. And like if we bomb them, they're gonna bomb us.
Yeah, even if it's bad, like logic.
Mm-hmm.
I think
we have to act first before they act on us.
Yeah, even if it's wrong.
Yeah.
Even if it's a justification, that is like a natural thing to have those feelings.
Which ones to say are evil, racism, and which ones to say are okay, speciesism. Discrimination is evil on its foundation, or it's not. Cannot have this one both ways. It doesn't work like that. I want to ask you to use some empathy right now. And when I say empathy, what I'm saying is place yourself in the position of the animals and start to view this issue from the animal's point of view.
Being an animal would suck
point
a lot,
of view.
depending on...
When you examine any form of injustice, whether humans are victims or animals are victims, please remember the victim's point of view. If you
follow Nature's Metal on Instagram, you know being an animal can suck.
Because when you're not the victim, it becomes pretty easy to rationalize and excuse cruelty.
It's true.
Injustice, inequality, slavery, and even murder. But when you're the victim, things look a lot differently from that angle. Now I want to show a graphic 4-minute video right now
Oh
about what
shit.
goes on inside of a slaughterhouse. I want to ask you.
He's got the
not to turn
DVD
away,
ready.
not to close
Bro,
your eyes
he's
during this
prepped.
video. It's because if you choose to eat meat, cheese, milk, and eggs, I think at the very least you are obligated to see the pain and suffering you are causing.
I feel like he's using
But if you do
every
feel the need to turn away and
possible
close your eyes during this
argument
video,
and throwing
wanna ask
everything at
yourself
the
a
wall to
question.
see what sticks.
if it's
Like
not
he
good
has
enough
these
for
kids
my
captive
eyes,
for an hour, and he's gonna
why
throw
is it good
everything,
enough
and now
for
he's
my
moving on to the guilt. Like here's
Yeah.
videos of animal brutality, which I don't think is a bad way to do it. But
Right, it's truly not. Especially it's it's 15 years into doing this speech. Like he's seen what works and what doesn't.
yeah. Now, what are we looking at here, Rick?
Boy, that looks like a cloaca.
Laying an egg.
Gross.
Now, I will say, I don't enjoy watching these videos.
Yep.
They're brutal. And part of me wants to skip through it, but I feel like in the spirit of this, we kind of have to watch it.
Yep.
The thing is I've already watched it 3 times.
God
I
damn.
don't want to watch this lamb get sawed in half.
And this is harder than the BME Pain Olympics.
Yeah, especially finding out that was fake.
Yeah.
Okay, that dude just like one-shot at that sheep.
I've seen this one before with the cow.
I honestly don't understand how half of this shit ever became legal.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to understand how watching this shit will easily make me go back to like your argument that is, if it's done more humanely, at least it's not as wrong. I can go to that really easily whenever I
Yeah.
see shit like this.
It's like, this isn't the way.
No.
Obviously.
There's so much shit, like they're doing the neck snapping in the chicken farms. I know a couple people who have had those jobs, and it has like such a high turnover burnout rate and legit PTSD from the people that work there for years and years after.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just killing baby chickens all day. It's so fucked.
Yeah, it's a fucked up situation. It's just because it's so systematic.
Yeah.
It's just like this is...
Feeding them to the gears. Honestly, going back into this topic, for me, I find it such an interesting philosophical argument, and I also feel pretty at odds with myself, and I would love to be able to hype myself up to fully make the change, but I do have like a closing argument that I struggle with this, but I have some thoughts at the end. We'll get there.
Yeah, this fucking thing, it's just a machine built to cut chickens' necks. It's fucking wild. It's. I think the switch to vegetarianism would be, or at least pescatarianism even, would be much easier and simpler, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely watching shit like this is the one that gets me.
It'll be interesting to see how the demeanor of this college class changes after.
Yeah.
Because this is one of these things where, like, in a class, I might fully agree with the speaker, but as soon as they do this, they've kind of forced me to have a little less respect for them. Which, that sounds so shitty, but it's because I feel like the assumption I think everyone should see this shit at some point in their lives, but if you're in a college class and you are not understanding that eating meat results in these consequences, then I don't feel like you should even be in the class. I feel like when somebody puts this on, it's like just a clear attempt to guilt me, which is fair play.
Right.
But I don't want to be in a class being guilted by a speaker. I want to And maybe I might be an exception. I want to have like the real discussion with them. Oh, he's back. He's crying. He's not crying. He's somber.
Somebody in that room is absolutely crying.
Be way funnier if he came back wearing a sombrero.
That they show you smiling cartoon caricatures of animals singing
Just to lighten the mood.
Lying to you.
Gotta keep us even.
Brainwashing you. Programming you not to
That
care
video
about
shocked
things
a lot
you
of you,
normally
but
care about.
check out this sick
Things
ass
that
sombrero.
you used
Who
to
can be
care about.
somber in a sombrero?
Right now, at this very moment, on American highways, there are no less than 5,000 concentration camp trucks.
Bold
Trucks that
statement.
we've constructed. Inside these trucks, there are living, terrified, innocent beings. Cows and pigs and chickens.
Can you imagine
These
being
trucks are being driven to
anti-abortion
concentration
but
camp
pro-meat-eating?
slaughterhouses that we've carefully
Because those
constructed
people are
all
dumb as
throughout
fuck.
America.
That shit is fun.
When the trucks arrive, the animals are so frightened, they won't even get off the truck. They're not stupid. They know what's next. So people go on the trucks with
I do
electric
tend to
rods
agree that
and
animals
force them to walk down the chutes
aren't
to
as
their own
stupid
death.
as we pretend they
Or if
are.
the animals
Yeah.
are
For sure.
small enough to manhandle like chickens, we'll just grab them off the trucks and toss them inside. Inside, these innocent living beings are hanged upside down, fully conscious.
Maybe they're a shitty chicken.
In other words,
Yeah, maybe
they
these
go
are
in
criminal
alive
chickens.
against their will.
What acts and what
Come out
gross
chopped
acts
up
of
into
atrocities have
hundreds of
they committed?
If they're
you know
so
what's
smart,
more
they can't all be
insane?
innocent.
Meat eaters.
If they're so smart, why don't they just break out?
Isn't causing any harm. Like it's
He would not
normal
like
and
us.
natural
He would be
consuming
upset.
violence.
I thought about reaching out. I feel like he has to have
How would
some
you
sense of
feel
humor after doing it
If
this
the
long.
day that you were born, somebody else had already planned the day of your execution.
Bro, it's living in America.
Yeah, dog.
That's
Big
what it's
city
like to
living.
be
That's the.
cow,
That's when you start
pig,
going to
chicken,
elementary
bird
school.
on this planet. I think this type of behavior is inexcusable and unbecoming of a species that claims to understand right from wrong.
I can almost agree it's
The
inexcusable,
animals have
but it's
not
just
done
true.
one single thing to us to deserve the wrath and the cruelty that we hurl on them. And I hope y'all understand what I'm offering you today.
I like his accent.
When you hit the door after my speech, are you aware that for the first time ever, you can now directly participate in ending a massacre? Instead of sitting around and paying lip service to all the massacres and all the problems that are always going on this planet. What is
He's got
so
a very-
frustrating to me when I travel this
both
country,
Canadian
doing around
and,
250
Southern.
lectures every year,
Yeah, like I was gonna say, like
7,500
California-ish.
students, is that everybody talks a good
Now, here's an
game.
interesting thing.
I've
If he
noticed
was
that people
skinny,
are quite the
if he was a
smooth
skinny
talkers
vegan,
when it
opposed to
comes
like a
to
relatively
peace,
muscular
compassion.
guy,
And people
he would not
always
be
want
taken
to
nearly
tell
as
me.
seriously.
Never
Yeah.
show me. Just tell me how
There's something
peaceful
where,
they
like-
are. Because of what
And I think
they
a lot of
believe
vegans
in.
feel the pressure, like if you don't
Or it
look
makes them sad.
like if you're-
You don't look
Gary, I
healthy.
believe in God, and I
healthy,
believe
and
in
if you're
angels,
coming
and I
from
pray
a
all the time.
like
And
aggressive
those earthquakes,
slash
the one in
assertive
Chile,
point of
Haiti,
view,
oh, that was
if
so
you look
sad.
like a wimpy soy
No
person,
shit, it was sad.
The soy boy beta cook.
yeah,
Since
that
when
you
does
get
feeling
such like you
sad
get laughed
about
out of the
an
room,
obvious
even though
tragedy
that's
or
absolute
believing
bullshit.
something
Yeah.
to make the world a better place
I've
and
had
make somebody a good
we've had
person.
people come in and they ask
And
for
listen, folks,
protein
I am not
added to
trying
a
to
thing,
dog you out
and we
when
tell
I
them,
talk
"Oh, we don't
like
have
this."
whey
I'm not.
protein. We only have the vegan
I'm just
protein."
not a
And they're like, "Oh, never
politician.
mind then."
I'm not a bullshit
It's like, what's the same amount of protein
I
you
don't
get
know how to
in the whey
schmooze
protein,
people, as you can see.
and it's really not
It's
that
kinda
like more
beyond me.
carbs or anything.
Oh,
And
you
they're like, "No,
appreciate
no
my
thanks."
honesty and my
That's so
genuineness
It's like,
today.
okay,
And
you
I'm
just
not a
you just
salesperson.
wanted whey
I got
because
no
you
books
think
to
it's
sell you after my lecture.
Meteor.
No
Yeah, you just think it's the
DVDs
buff
and
thing to do.
documentaries. No collection plate
or
going
they'll order
around.
something
I
that
don't want your
already
money.
has
I don't
protein
want
in
your
it, and they're
email
like, "Can I have that
address, and I don't
substituted
want your
with
mailing
whey
address.
protein?"
Keep
Like,
all
no,
that
we don't
stuff.
have that.
I am here to talk
Never
about
mind.
the worst form of cruelty and violence taking place on this planet. Even though most people
You should
don't
probably
seem to
care more
about
about
it.
his mailing
But
list,
when you
though.
sit back in the comfort of your living room and and you start condemning atrocities elsewhere, that is pure, unadulterated lip service. That's the definition of lip service.
I do agree with him here in the sense that I think people love, I mean, obviously I love it too. We love criticizing others.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there has to be a fundamental acknowledgement that we are kind of shitty, even for doing the basic things, like eating lesser animals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think of an underlying understanding that humans just kind of suck.
Yeah,
I think that's extremely healthy. That most of us suck and we make shitty decisions a lot of the time. Maybe not all of the time, maybe not even most of the time, but a lot. There's a lot of times when we make selfish and unplanned, uncoordinated decisions to do fucking anything and don't consider the repercussions of those decisions.
If you don't think eating an animal you don't need to eat isn't at all, like, kind of shitty, then I feel like you're not going to appropriately evaluate a lot of other things.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
But veganism, this is now a chance to actually walk the compassionate talk that everybody's always talking about. This is your chance to show others how truly peaceful you are. This is a chance for a personal revolution, to leave your mark on this planet.
I think for a lot of people it really is that. Like, being vegan really is like a personal revolution, a chance to like feel better about who you are, to try better, like a lot of good things.
Inconvenience?
Like recycling.
Apathy? Selfishness? I want you to know, I don't live in Fantasyland. I'm well aware that animals are suffering and dying just because we're here on the planet with
I wish he
them.
was wearing shoes,
We
though.
build homes through their habitat.
It would change it a
Their environment.
It would
destroy
it would
their
just give them
habitat.
The Birkenstocks are killing your vibe.
Is there
It
a
would
reason
it would
we
just
have
give
to
him like
maximize
+3
the
power.
suffering
Like
and maximize the cruelty
he's doing
and the
fine,
death
but
they already
he could use a
endured
+3
by
power.
keeping
It's all.
them on
Listen,
top of it all?
as coming from a man who works. Sometimes I have to travel for work, and it's hot outside, and I would rather wear pants like a professional individual. But sometimes I gotta wear shorts, and I gotta, I started wearing these Crocs, and boy, my back and my feet thank me for it every day.
So you're just falling apart, huh?
I'm just falling apart at the seams over here.
Meat consumes around 3,000 land animals and thousands of other marine animals. Those are USDA
3,000
stats.
animals.
Now, you know what's fucked up? Crocs, not made of Crocs.
We've all been told that humans are carnivores, we're omnivores, we're meat eaters, and we're supposed to be doing this. Are you aware
think we're
that
opportunists.
physiologically, the human body is
We'll
actually
eat whatever gets us through the day.
100%
Yeah, I mean that's the
herbivorous
reason
plant eaters.
we started eating meat because we could learn to hunt meat, and we could feed multiple of us. Yeah, it's an efficient
That's the same
way to
length of
eat
all herbivore animal intestines
while
on
being
this planet.
nomadic.
They're very long.
I think a lot of
But the
vegans
length
now
of the
argue that
intestines on real meat eaters,
even if it is
hyenas,
natural for us to eat
coyotes,
meat, we no
bears,
longer
tigers,
need
and
to.
lions,
Yeah,
That
no.
there's
only 3 to
ethical
6 times the length
answers
of
to
their
this
torso.
problem now.
Yeah,
They have a
I
short
don't
intestinal
disagree with
tract,
that.
so they can push through quickly decaying and rotting animal flesh.
Now,
Animal
this,
protein,
talking about
cholesterol, saturated
intestine
fats,
length
trans
and
fatty
how
acids,
jaw
which
function
is why
works,
it is
different teeth
impossible.
type. I
repeat,
don't think he is
impossible
on the money with
for any
science with some of
genuine
this.
meat eater to ever clog their arteries. Never happens to a real meat eater. What's the #1 killer of humans who choose to eat meat, cheese, milk, and egg? Heart disease from clogged arteries, atherosclerosis.
But we also live
Humans and
way
other
longer by
herbivores, we
proportion
sweat
than
through
most
our
other
pores to cool
carnivores.
ourselves.
And we also
We don't
we make
pant
butter,
like dogs
and
cats
cheese,
and lions to cool
which is
ourselves down.
concentrated
No claws
cholesterol.
on the human hand. Claws are a trademark of the carnivore and the omnivore. We have carbohydrate digestive enzymes in our saliva. Only herbivores possess that, meaning we're supposed to be eating tons of
Our
carbohydrates.
enzymes also
like fruits,
digest meat,
vegetables.
right?
Our teeth, broad, short, blunt, flat, just like the teeth of other herbivores, and before somebody blurts out, "Hey Gary, what about these canines, dog?" Most of the herbivores have canines, incisors, and molars. It would not be possible for them.
He fucking read my mind. I was going to say, hey Gary, what about these fucking canines,
Our lower jaw
dog?
goes from side to side in a grinding, chewing motion, like this.
I think the argument with that is we only have two of them to help us puncture fruit and stuff.
Yeah.
But
are an herbivore.
dogs don't have all fangs either.
Exactly. Yeah.
Vertically, rip and swallow.
But they do have a lot more sharp teeth than we do.
Well, they can't brush. What do you expect?
Out there truly believes that humans are meat eaters, I'll give you 2 challenges.
Yeah, Gary, take that.
Please do so if you want. I want you to go outside and locate a squirrel on campus.
I like this argument.
And when you spot that squirrel, put that carnivore speed into effect that everybody has and chase that squirrel down, pounce on him, and catch him in your mouth.
Never mind, this
no
one's the
tools,
dumb
no
one.
weapons, no cages. No one's allowed to be a cheater and a fake carnivore with this challenge.
Are you saying because
When
we
you are
can't
done
catch
killing the
squirrels?
squirrel
Motherfucker,
in
I
your
can catch a
mouth,
squirrel if I
be
set my
guest,
mind to it.
Eat the squirrel.
I set a trap.
Eyes, nose,
I get a gun.
face, toes, tail,
Yeah, why
anus,
is intellect
inner
out of
organs,
the
blood, fur.
equation?
And don't forget about the brains. You don't get to pick and choose which body parts you want to eat, and you don't get to cook it either.
I'll eat a squirrel just to prove them wrong.
I'll eat a squirrel's brain just to
raw
prove
flesh
them
from the bone, down to the bone, with nothing left but the bones, day after day after day. And challenge number 2, find a 2-year-old child.
This one is the one
Place
I
the
like.
child in a crib. In the crib, put 2 things: a live bunny rabbit and an apple. If the child eats the bunny rabbit and plays with the apple, send me an email, would you? Let me know, because I'm going to come back and buy everyone in this room a brand new car if that happens. Benzes and Beamers,
And
leather
Oprah just
interior
showed
too. In
up.
fact, next time I'm at Georgia Tech, if that
I do
happens,
think that is
I will
a
eat
relatively
steak
convincing
sandwich in front of
emotional
everybody.
argument.
Chase it down with a
Yeah,
chili dog with
I
extra
think
cheese,
that's a good
ice
point.
cream, and a bag of beef jerky too.
Maybe 1 out of 1,000,000 babies are going to try to eat the squirrel opposed to the apple. But they can't eat an apple either.
Yeah, babies can't eat apples.
And a lot of by the time it's big enough to eat an apple, a lot of those babies would try to attack a squirrel or like accidentally kill it.
Go full Lenny on it.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know if you think it through. I don't know if it's that convincing, but it's emotionally convincing.
And I'll take the jerky and I'll dip it in the ice cream and eat it like that. Now I would not hold my breath on these promises, not that I won't fulfill them, I'm a man of my word, but those things cannot and will not be happening because humans also possess 0 carnivorous instincts. 0 omnivorous instincts when we're born young and growing up. We're all born vegan. We just acquire a taste for meat, cheese, milk, and eggs after they're forced down our throats during childhood.
By our stupid fucking moms.
Like fucking idiot parents that have no idea what the fuck they're doing. If you're listening to this podcast, pause it, call your parents, and tell them to fuck off for feeding.
Tell them they're sicko pervert freaks for feeding us all that titty milk.
Call your parents perverts.
Mom, you're a pedophile. I can't believe you did that to me.
My friends on this podcast said you're a pedophile.
Now, all I'm asking you to do is something normal
God damn
and
it.
natural anyways. Eat what comes from the earth. Every vitamin, mineral, and nutrient that exists.
Dude, I wish I could eat nuts and berries and seeds all day.
You know what's fucked up? Is I kind of do. I kind of do eat fucking fruits and nuts and seeds all day.
You probably do way more with
It's
this
pretty,
job.
I gotta say, it's pretty rad. I'm not sick of it at all.
I do as much as I can.
I eat less seeds than I probably could and should, but
Bro,
like,
I just ate
my access to like fruit, like multiple kinds of fruits and like chia seeds, which have like, are a complete protein,
Yeah,
have like
they're
full
great.
protein shit, and like hemp seeds, which is also like complete protein, and like nut butters and whatever. Like I do very well.
Gotta love the nut butter.
Oh yeah, that might just be a kitchen term for peanut butter and almond butter, but
I've had like
nut butts, man. Get some nut butts in you.
I've had a pound of spicy pistachios this week. That's
Ooh.
It's like all I've ate for 2 days.
Spicy pistachios, the new oatmeal and ice cream.
We're cycling off. We're about to cycle back on. I'm trying to get back into my buff phase where my bulk.
Your bulk phase, where you just eat ice cream and oatmeal.
And dude, I fucked up.
And then go to the spa. Eat chocolate.
Dude, I fucked up. I took oatmeal out of the equation, and now I just eat 1 scoop of Nutella with 1 scoop of ice cream. I'm going to like half a pint, which means I also ate half a pint of Nutella.
You're bulking like Mac was bulking.
It's crazy.
Oh god damn it! You're accumulating mass.
Protein, calcium, iron, potassium, all the B vitamins, they have an original source, and it ain't the animals. You are aware that people eat animals after the animals have already eaten from the earth. People eat cows after the cows eat up the grass, some of the soil. Then we ship them to a feedlot, feed them most of our corn, wheat, oats, and soy. Then we take more of the corn, wheat, oats, and soy, shove it down the throats of pigs and chickens and turkeys. Stop filtering your nutrients through somebody else's body. It's illogical and irrational. Go to those sources directly. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, legumes. These things cannot harm you, cannot cause a disease, and more importantly, they harm no one else in the process. But when we consume what walks, what flies, and what swims, that is abnormal. Where does everybody think diseases come from? Broccoli?
No, he's about to go into this
Asparagus,
argument
kale, collard greens.
where he's going to blame all disease on zoological infections, right?
Okay.
Like COVID from bats and penguins and all that shit. Now, it is true. Like the plague was from fleas. Like most big people killers come from some result of us and animals. Or from animal, whatever. But in a world with no meat, we can't conclusively say this couldn't also happen with vegetables or grain. Like, there's been massive grain infections that have poisoned big groups of people. There's E. coli. There's all kinds of shit. So anytime the vegans go into we could just cure disease, there'd be no infectious diseases.
There's like a recall on romaine lettuce like at least once a year.
and
because of E. coli shit.
And they often, I mean, it is true. Those things aren't nearly as bad as the major ones from animals, but they always make the argument like, oh, if one thing was different, like these plagues or animal zoological ones could have killed everyone. And it's like, yeah, that could be true. But if we had one extra mutation from a crazy E. coli strain, like who the fuck knows? Like in a world where there's no zoological infectious diseases, we can't appropriately know there wouldn't be other ones for non-animal stuff.
I'd like to get a hold of someone who knows about more shit like that.
Bat poop?
I mean, just about like diseases and shit in general.
The thing is it's proving a negative. Like we can't, even if his argument would most likely be right, we just don't know the future. Especially how viruses would develop when you completely change the nature of food delivery, storage, harvesting, and intermingling. That's the argument I've heard mostly.
I think we gotta get a hold of my boy Dr. ASF, my boy Dr. Tony, Big T Fauci.
I I don't like him. He's a
Yeah,
liar.
I don't really know that much about him.
He's a little liar.
Wasn't he like, is he specialized in like infectious diseases and stuff?
He's very smart. He's very smart and good at his job, and I still think he needed a lot of public backing during COVID, but he did lie, and that wasn't cool.
Not fucking cool, man. Not fucking cool.
Not wear masks, even if it's like you're lying for a good reason. That was still fucked up. But it's the way she goes.
Blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, peaches, nectarines, grapes, bananas, avocado,
piece of candy,
tomatoes, cucumbers, spinach. And in case anyone's wondering about those pesky little E. coli, salmonella contaminations a couple times a year with the vegetables, let's keep in mind the one and only source of E. coli and salmonella: shit. Human shit or animal shit. Spinach doesn't shit. Broccoli doesn't shit. Peanuts don't shit. Let's stop blaming the plant products when there's an E. coli salmonella contamination. That's the fault of a meat-eating society. Why?
Kinda.
Well, meat eaters want billions of land animals to eat, so we have to mass produce billions of land animals. Keep in mind, this has nothing to do with God, nothing to do with evolution anymore. This is a business. This is Smithfield, ConAgra, Purdue, Tyson, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, KFC.
From animal shit?
That's why we have animal agriculture classes
vegetables, but it's also
so
human too.
Billions of land animals,
I don't think the large outbreaks of it that would be considered like an outbreak. That's not coming from just one person that didn't wash their hands. That's coming from, usually it's like an entire field of like bad fertilizer that gets like when rain hits it and it runs into another crop.
I think that's generally true, but it can be just
that's usually the case, at least I know with romaine instances. That's usually the story how it goes.
So he's switching gears into the health argument: diabetes, arteriosclerosis, all that shit, and all of that. I mean, he's right.
Yeah, there's definitely the argument that not every body is different. Like every like you need more protein, you need more fibers, whatever, than someone else. But in a general sense, veganism is definitely a much cleaner.
Yeah, and you can still be just as strong.
Yeah,
like be is just as big. The thing is I feel like a lot of times the health arguments are a little dishonest because often, and I believe he does this too, I think he overstates the health benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, as in a general sense, they are right. But if you overstate it, it just feels dishonest.
Mm-hmm.
Keep this in mind, between 2 to 9% of all meat and all dairy naturally comprised of trans fatty acids. And you can obviously take out all of animal protein. Now, animal protein is way too acidic for the human body. We don't process it properly. It is the main reason why 1 in 3 meat eaters continually get cancer. And it's one of the main causes
all
of
cancer
osteoporosis.
on meat.
Were you aware
He didn't say
that
all
when animal
cancer.
protein
Just
enters
cancer.
the human body, it makes our blood acidic instantaneously? But
Bro,
our blood can't
everything
stay acidic
changes
for
your
long,
blood
else we
acidity.
die. So our body has to figure out instantly how to neutralize the acidity. I have some good news and some bad news. Let's start with the good. Our bodies have figured out how to neutralize the acidity. Bad news. There's only one way to make it happen at this point. With phosphate. There's only one source of phosphate in the human body. Bones. Just so you know.
I may be a doctor, but I'm not a good doctor.
You're more specialized in
our body leaches
bird medicine.
phosphate out of the bones, takes the phosphate to neutralize the acidity, and then we pee out the calcium. This is why every single epidemiological study, those are the ones done on human populations, every single one shows that societies that consume the most amount of animal protein have the worst rates of
biggest benefits is really
bone fractures,
mostly
and
heart
cancer.
disease,
While
diabetes
societies that consume
secondary,
little to no animal
but
protein,
anything
the
outside of
vegan and
that, like
vegetarian ones,
cancers,
Hindus, Buddhists, Jains,
you're bordering on
Rastafarians, Seventh-day
pseudoscience.
Adventists, have little to
it
no rates
could
of
be true,
osteoporosis,
but you
bone
can't
fractures,
prove
and
it.
cancers. And so
Like, you can't prove.
during Q&A about different medical studies
He
that are
basically
out there.
goes
A
on
lot
to
of times
like
when
blame
people know I'm coming to
every
class in advance,
ailment
boy, they'll spend a few hours online
to
looking up studies,
being the result
print
of
it out,
eating
wait for
meat.
Q&A, and go, hey, Yourofsky, I got a study here that contradicted everything you told us today. What's up with that? Well, here's what's up with that. You don't need a medical study to show you what people are dying of.
Oh
But
shit,
for the
we're
record,
throwing out the sign.
every study you can produce showing that
Okay.
humans need meat,
Okay,
cheese,
Gary.
milk, and eggs, I'll produce 2. 2-to-1 ratio, showing that meat, cheese,
Which
milk, and
means
eggs are
nothing
responsible for
because
every
like
major
there's
disease.
meta studies and like
But
bad
we all know
studies and
medical
good
studies
studies.
can be
Like
manipulated
he's
either
like, we're
way.
throwing out the
So even
science,
though
but
I
I
got a heavy
got double
2-to-1
yours.
edge on this, I say toss them all out.
I don't know enough
You
to
don't need
like
'em.
be
All you have to do is
to
pay
say
attention to this meat,
definitively
cheese, milk,
about
egg-eating society that we
the
all
health
live in.
things, but I'm pretty sure you can't just
How many of your
blame
family members
like
and
all
your friends'
cancers
family
or like
members have a disease
a
already or died
large
already
portion of
from
all
disease?
medical problems
'Cause I can't
on
be the only one
meat.
affected by this.
Yeah, I will say this too. So in 2010, the amount of research that was actually done in like vegan stuff, like there was a considerable amount done, but it's nowhere near
Different
the amount
world.
that happened in the last 15 years, last 13 years has been an explosion of science into understanding more about it. So I'd like to hear what a 2023 Yourofsky would, what numbers, what figures he has for that.
He's about to list all the illnesses the people he knows has. And he's going to basically conclude it's from not being vegan.
My grandfather died from a heart attack. My grandma died from a stroke. My Uncle Jack died from a heart attack. And last October on the 15th, I got a call around midnight that my father had just died from a heart attack. My mom, she's got asthma. My stepdad's got heart disease so badly he takes 7 pills for breakfast. My best friend Darren, 4 of his aunts and uncles have died from diabetes.
This is my point where I feel like it goes too far where it is dishonest.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he was right, he doesn't know that at all. At all. There's no way to know. And it's like we know it is healthier not to be eating sugar and meat all the time, but you can't blame all your family member and friends' illnesses on their diet. Like, you have no fucking idea.
His ex-girlfriend Rita has breast cancer at 40 and she's
Not
dying.
Rita.
Just found out a few months ago that his current girlfriend Dion has ovarian cancer. And yesterday my girlfriend just found out that her father has prostate cancer.
God damn.
Not his prostate. God damn.
What's
That
the
was
one
his
thing we all
favorite
have in
organ.
common with each other besides the air we breathe
That's his favorite
and the water
toy.
we drink? Meat, cheese, milk, and eggs. Animal products all
So
day
we're
long.
throwing out the
And I know
science,
you can
but I
blame
have
some
double
of
the
cancers
studies.
on environmental pollution.
And the
There's no
one
doubt
thing
about
all
that.
these sick people have in
Why are you
common
gonna
is
blame
what they
heart attacks
ate,
and
so that's
strokes
what it
on
was.
environmental pollution?
That's shit.
And
That's a shit
diabetes,
argument.
Osteoporosis.
Right.
Obesity. Here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna break this
without-
down for you in a couple different ways
without
today. I'll show you
data.
what's killing people, and
Without
I'll show you
any
what's
data,
lying.
any
It's
information,
flat-out bull
Yeah.
lie.
anything
Let's
conclude
come
like
to an agreement on the
Like, I get where he's
dairy.
coming from, and I'm sure he
Let me know
probably
if I'm
could
being
put
unfair.
together
I
something
wanna know.
for that, but also he doesn't
According
have
to the
data.
dairy industry
And it's not-
itself,
Extraordinary claims require
the
extraordinary
main reason
evidence.
they
yeah,
exist
exactly. And whatever he
So
could
you
get
can
together,
help.
just it still wouldn't be proof.
Yeah.
All these doctors aren't going to say
That not
it
their
is
entire
from
claim. Eat some cheese, drink
milk,
some cow's
meat,
milk.
cheese.
Strong
Yeah,
bones,
even if I
strong
don't think
body.
he's
Milk
wrong,
does a body
you know,
good.
in
Right.
a certain case, yeah.
Check it out with the USDA. In America, we consume the most amount of dairy on the planet. Right?
That's
you
true.
can't even get a sandwich anymore without cheese.
And there was
We
like
put
a
cheese in
massive
every nook and every
campaign by
cranny
the
and
government
every
to
single food
get
item.
us
We
to
put
drink
it
as much
inside
milk
the
and
pizza
eat
crust.
cheese.
Yeah, man, it was
We put
just,
cheese
they had it
on
in
top of
books, in
salads,
schools,
too. You
and
can't
fucking
get
everywhere.
salad anymore
Got
without
milk?
cheese.
And I want to contradict what he just said. You can't get a sandwich without cheese anymore. That's not true. The Whopper usually comes without cheese.
They charge you for the cheese.
I don't think they do. I think the cheese is free if you add it on.
I mean hooked
Damn.
like it's been laced with weed, crack, ecstasy, morphine, and the antidote. Most
Is he
people
talking
can't
about
even
putting
fathom
weed in
one
meat?
meal, let alone one day
Putting
or
some-
a lifetime
putting some crack in
without
some
cheese.
He's
meat?
saying adding cheese is like putting ecstasy, weed, crack, heroin and the antidote in your food. That's how addictive this shit is. That's how
that's
fucking
true.
fire that habanero cheese is.
Fucking cheese is incredible.
I will say,
I had a egg and cheese on toast this morning.
You're just eating cancer, brother.
Just eating cancer.
Hope you enjoyed that death gulp.
Proving this man right.
Now, the thing is, this might just be a me quirk, but there is almost nothing more in the world that annoys me when people compare moderately addictive things to hardcore drugs. It makes me just not give a fuck about what you're...
It's like, sir, how do I know? Tell me you've never done heroin without telling me you've never done heroin.
That cookie was like crack cocaine.
Yeah.
Like, motherfucking no, it wasn't. If I had crack cocaine, we wouldn't be worried about cookies right now. I mean, I would eat the cookie, but it wouldn't be a priority.
Yeah. Like, I would still eat the cookie. I would still probably eat 10 or 12 of these cookies, but...
Damn, this cookie is as good as crack cocaine. When you're on crack cocaine.
When you're on crack, yeah.
In fact, if you want to know why vegetarians never go vegan, cheese.
True.
Yep,
Cheese on a
that's
baked
absolutely
potato,
the truth.
cheese on a broccoli, cheese on everything in sight. Even lactose intolerant people eat cheese.
Yeah, isn't
Yeah.
the
And I don't care
argument
what
that
anybody says about
making
this, they might
cheese,
avoid
like
straight up
eggs
cow
and shit,
milk.
it's just as
A
like
slap of
brutal
double
as
pepperoni
eating meat,
pizza
basically?
in front of a
Yeah, basically, yeah,
lactose
the
intolerant person, no
milking
hesitation.
process, like the
So
hormone
we got all these
pumping and shit
animal
like that
products
to
coming
produce
into
more
our
milk, and then they're able to,
wonder why there are
like,
no less
once
than
they
3
get the
TV
milk to make
commercials being
butter
run for
and,
calcium
cheese and
supplements?
buttermilk and whatever the fuck,
Actonel,
like,
Boniva, Citracat.
then it's
Got
whatever,
the
but, like, it's just the
calcium
process of
supplements in
getting the
America?
milk is
How come
so
there's osteoporosis at
systematic
all?
and
How come
machine
at the
ran, and
vitamin
it's pretty fucked.
stores, I say
Yeah.
plural stores, because when I travel the country, boy, meat eaters pull me aside all the time and say, hey, Gary, we eat meat because you get everything you need from meat.
Gary, all my
the
family has
vitamins, all the
cancer.
minerals, all the vitamins." Well, how come in this meat, cheese, milk, egg eating society that we all live in, every city has not only 1, but 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 vitamin stores? How come Rite Aid, CVS, and Walgreens now have complete vitamin sections too? With a whole shelf devoted to calcium supplements.
Because we're scamming, bro.
I
Damn
thought everybody
right.
was getting calcium from the animal products. That's what the meat and dairy people say.
My understanding is you get bad calcium absorption from those things compared to what the
Animal
industry
protein
or
won't
what
allow
people
it.
expect.
Animal protein
things
makes your blood
are said.
acidic, so your body takes calcium
But, like,
phosphate out of
fucking
the bones.
almond milk
Phosphate
has more
neutralized,
calcium than
calcium gets
dairy
extracted
Right.
milk and shit like that. It's like,
There are 4 commercials for fiber. Metamucil, Fibercon,
Because some people
FiberSure,
need fiber.
and Beta
It's just
fiber.
not that
If
confusing.
people ate a friggin' apple or a pear once in a while, nobody would need help taking a shit. Now
That's just
pay
not
attention
true, though,
and look
Gary.
around and see what's going on. Now, with all this being said, we've
And it's not just 'cause they
established the
didn't
4
have
reasons why
one
people
apple.
eat meat, cheese, milk, and eggs. No debating, no discussing it.
although boy, have you ever,
Habit.
when's the last time you tried to eat
Tradition.
more
Convenient.
vegan-ish? It's like,
I go back and forth often,
it's
but I just
whenever you go from like not eating a lot of vegetables to very suddenly having a lot of fruit and vegetables in your life, the shits are ridiculous.
I've never had that issue. I just eat carbs. Like, it's
World hunger.
if I'm trying to
So your idea of going vegan is, okay, well, I'm going to eat potatoes and potato chips and bread.
It's basically just not to eat meat. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
53 billion land animals that are killed every year on this planet. And tens of billions of marine animals. We got fish farms nowadays. Instead of using those crops for 6.5 billion people. Do the math on this. You don't have to be Einstein to figure this equation out. And again, environmental pollution, air pollution, water pollution, deforestation, greenhouse gas emissions. #1 cause is animal agriculture. Now,
Is that
why
true
tastes
still?
Good, though,
I have no idea.
Because I think meat tastes great.
I feel like it.
Might shock you
I
to hear
think
me
that's
say
not
that,
actually
but if you're doing
100%
some
true.
kind of
I don't
extra
think it is
credit
either.
essay
I know
in
it's
speech,
a
you wanna
huge
quote
part
me,
of it.
Quote me right now. I love the
I don't
way
know, though.
meat
I don't
tastes.
know.
Love it. Cheese.
I don't really like meat
Love
that
it.
much.
Cow's milk and eggs.
I think you like
Love
the
it.
taste of meat more than I do, or you probably appreciate it more
I
than I
enjoy
do as a chef.
I did not stop eating this stuff because
I enjoy
it
the
tastes
cooking
delicious.
of
I stopped
meat
for
more
ethics,
than I do the eating
morality,
of meat.
Yeah.
decency, compassion to the animals that I share this planet with. But here's the coolest thing about being
There is
vegan in this
something
day and
kind
age,
of
it's
ritualistic
never
about
been
like
easier.
preparing
You
a
can
nice
have the
steak
same smell,
or like
taste, and texture of meat, cheese, and
deboning
milk
and
without it.
confying like
Nobody has to
chicken
suffer and
thighs
die
or
every
something.
dinner
Like
anymore,
there is a
including you.
part of that I do
They make all
enjoy
the
doing.
products you
Yeah.
like to eat in a vegan version. They make
Now,
it from soy and wheat.
He essentially concludes with the not the only valid reason, but the most pure reason to be a vegan is purely of ethics, right? He's throwing everything at the wall. We got health, environment, all those things, but that the main reason for him and like people like my brother and I think a lot of vegans, it really is the ethics over health. I mean, there's a ton of unhealthy eating vegans out there too.
Oh,
but
for sure.
I think most people, it's because they want to do a good thing. And I think that's super respectable. He's kind of going to dip into the health part of it now because I think he realizes, even if it's I don't know if it's the right or wrong battle, but like you said, he's done it so many times. I think he focuses a lot on taste, where he wants to be able to convince people they don't have to lose anything by being a vegan.
Right.
And for me, that is an unconvincing part of this equation, but I think maybe to a lot of people it matters more.
Yeah.
I don't know, but he's about to kind of go into that.
Rice and hemp. I want to show you some of the products that are out there, and I'm not receiving compensation from these companies. These are my
I think
selection,
you'll
best
get a
tasting
kick out of
coffee.
this.
I'm going to put them up on the screen so we can all see it clearly. You guys like bacon?
And
Light Life,
begin the
smart bacon.
infomercial part of
Bacon,
the
bacon,
Uh-huh.
speech.
This company, Light Life, also makes smoky tempeh
Oh, that's Light
bacon.
Life.
Now, tempeh is a fermented version
Because
of
these are all the
soy,
products
so it
from,
tastes a
what,
little
15
different than
years
the
ago?
other stuff,
Yeah,
but keep
yeah.
in
I
mind,
recognize the brand.
I
Their
would not
logo is different.
recommend products to you if they didn't taste fantastic. I am
Actually,
trying
they make
to
good
win
shit.
you over.
I've
so
had
you
the
go
smart
veg.
bacon.
I'm not showing you every product
But he's
we
basically
have.
trying
Some of
to,
our products suck.
like,
I'm showing you the best of the best. And when I
hype
say some
up
of our
these vegan
suck,
products right
don't
now,
act
which
like
is
they're
a
our shitty
technique I've
Chinese
never
restaurants,
seen done
nasty
in
cutesy
one of
places,
these
and
speeches.
disgusting hamburger joints, okay? It works both ways. If it's made
He
great,
said,
no matter
"Fuck
what it
Chinese
is,
food.
tastes
I got
great.
smart
If not,
bacon,
it's gonna
bitch."
stink. Light
Got
Life
this
also
smoky
has
tempeh.
soy chicken strips and steak strips as well.
Now,
They also
all
have a full
vegan
line of
food
deli meats.
inherently, especially the older stuff, this packaging looks so cheap and shitty low-grade food.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though I might like it, but it looks, it's all like freezer food.
Yeah.
Quest bars, Luna bars.
Well, that's the thing is it's like it's meant to be the things that are meant to be like meat substitutes and meat replacements.
Yeah.
It's like they often suck and they're not like usually good for you. The ones that there are some brands that make shit that's like actually like very nutrient rich and is actually good for you and is not just like pure garbage. But they're usually also not as
Expensive.
well, they are expensive. They're not as like I don't know. It's not the same as eating meat. Or like you have a Beyond Burger or something. It's like it's like eating meat.
Turkey also has
Yeah.
tempeh strips. Remember I talked about the fake and bacon with Light Life tempeh? So they have
But
some
he's like
tempeh
literally
products,
going
too.
through his
Turkey
shopping
also has
list.
Italian
Yeah.
Like
sausage,
I feel like to
beer
a
brats,
group of
and
college
there
students,
seems
this
to
would
be an
be
addiction in our
the part
society.
where I zone out because this is very unconvincing to me.
Unconvincing maybe, but I think
Their minds, but we got you covered.
I mean I don't know what the market was like in 2010. I really wasn't paying that much attention to it, but like if knowing that okay, there's actually a lot of options available.
Yeah, to be fair, at the time, I feel like I was dating. I don't know if I was dating a vegan at this point in time, but anytime when these products were first coming in the market, it was pretty revolutionary.
Yeah, like Morningstar Farms was there. I don't even think Morningstar Farms was like vegan. I think they're just vegetarian. I think they still have egg in them.
But it was like a big deal because we had never seen foods like this in our lifetime previously. So maybe it was more impactful at the time.
Yeah.
family members I flat out fooled with this stuff.
Now you can get a vegan burger at fucking
Most places.
You can get one at most places. You can go to fucking Burger King, get that Whopper with
Bro.
cheese and a Beyond Burger and add bacon to it if you want to.
Portobello mushroom burgers.
Oh, dude.
Killer. Now,
Yes.
I'd like to point out, did you hear that big laugh in the background?
Yes.
I mentioned wheat meat earlier. I don't think people really understand what it is. There's actually a name for it. It's called seitan. Not Satan, seitan. I want to give this stuff a try too. And they now have...
It was because he pronounced seitan. The crackers, aren't they crackers?
No, seitan is like bread.
Oh,
It's like a loaf. It's like a fake meat. It's usually how it's prepared, but it's just vital wheat gluten that's like seasoned, kind of savory, and then like it's basically made like a bread and then sliced and served.
I just want to point out that big laugh he was like, guys, it's seitan, not Satan, and the whole class erupts. Now, this tells me a couple things. Everyone in that class is fucking stupid as fuck. Imagine it being like the funniest joke in an hour that you said the word Satan. It's Satan, not Satan. And 30 people around you are like,
Dude, let me tell you something that's going to piss you off. That when people hear about Satan and they for the first time, it's always that. It's always like,
I believe it.
Isn't that funny?
Like
And they always,
Satan.
yeah, exactly.
So what is the funny part? It sounds
did
like another
the
word.
devil make you eat it? Yeah, exactly.
Dude, I feel like at that point in the speech, if I was Gary, that's when I take out my vegan AR-15 and gun down the whole classroom with my vegan bullets.
To be completely fair and honest, when we used to make and sell seitan, I would label it with upside down pentagrams and upside down crosses and shit.
No, that's mandatory. That's fair.
I mean, that was, and I absolutely just spelled it Satan. but that was for me.
Flavored seitan on the market too by Upton's, ground beef style, chorizo style. They also have an Italian sausage.
Oh, they're still giggling.
Other favorite companies.
God, that actually made me really angry.
I know you guys have seen
How dare they laugh at my Lord and Savior
But if you
Satan?
don't like Boca, good news. There's Amy's, Morningstar Farms, Dr. Prager's, Sunshine Burgers.
If you don't like
and Garden
Boca burgers,
Burger,
you
all
can
different
fucking
chains.
off yourself, kids.
Go fucking walk into traffic.
Some kind of mock meat in your diet. New company called Bahama Rice Burgers. Burgers from rice. They also
God,
have
he's still
sausage and
going.
meatballs made out of rice as well. Another company with a
See, this is the part, like, as a chef, like, I find this very interesting. One, because, like, it's stuff that, like, I've experienced before. Some of it, like, artichoke burgers, never heard of that one.
They're good.
Sunchoke, I've heard of people using that, not so much artichoke.
The artichokes are like meat stuff is, like, from my understanding, is getting popular now.
Yeah, because it's got, like, layers, too. Like, you can make, like, I bet that would probably make a good, like, chicken or something.
Yeah. I think it fries really good.
Tofu scramblers, a fake egg, a hot pocket that actually tastes good and it's good for
Not gonna
you, too.
lie, I'm a little
Amy's
hungry
also
for some
has
vegan
rice
snackaroonies.
macaroni with diet cheese, a brand new vegan cheese on the market. Diet cheese, which you can find in Whole Foods right now, comes in two different
This is
flavors.
when
A lot
diet
of
cheese
people
was
are
new.
crazy for the diet cheese. I still like Follow Your Heart.
Oh, that's
which has
interesting.
4 different flavors. The vegan
Actually,
cheese comes in a
good
big
cheese.
block and it melts. Now, sometimes you gotta
It's
be
just
creative
mad
with this stuff.
expensive.
Light
Yeah.
Life also has vegan pepperoni,
There are much
which is
better
ready
ones
to
now,
eat
too.
directly out of the
Yeah.
bag.
I don't know if I've had
Oh,
many.
Follow Your Heart. I just realized that the brand name on the last one, their logo is so different. They make good shit, actually. They make good, like, mayonnaise replacement.
Before it goes in the oven or after it comes out of the oven, slap some pepperoni on there.
Mayo's disgusting.
Remember, there's soy milk and rice
Yeah,
milk,
true.
almond
Tofutti,
milk,
actually,
nut
they
milk,
fuck around, man. They make
coconut
good, like,
milk,
sour cream
oat milk,
and shit like that.
hazelnut
They
milk,
really
70
awesome
ounces of
shit,
water.
actually.
Soy ice cream, rice ice
My
cream,
boy
almond
loves
ice
fake
cream,
milk.
and coconut milk
I love
ice
these
cream.
nut
These
milks.
bars are So delicious. And let me just say this, you have never
So Delicious
had
does
ice
not fuck
cream
around either. They're good as hell.
coconut milk ice cream.
They make,
Delicious. You
we use their coconut milk at work. They make really good, like, unsweetened, like, just plain shit that doesn't taste like ass.
I eat nothing nasty. And what about
Gary,
ethnic
don't eat
food?
that nasty.
Indian food, Middle Eastern food, Mexican food,
But
plenty
he
of
do eat
veggie options
ass.
there. Italian food, pasta and spaghetti. And real pasta,
With
real
consenting
spaghetti, just
adults,
like
eating
bread,
ass is
never
still considered
requires
vegan.
animal products. Now, unfortunately, we've defiled these products, so you always have to ask or check out the ingredient list. But every Italian joint has at least one, if not 2 or 3 of the genuine noodles, which are always vegan. And when it comes to the best bread around, Whole Foods or Panera Bread, Bruegger's bagels,
I just find this so
Einstein
uninteresting.
Bagels, 90%.
I think you're an exception because you're a chef, but I don't think this convinces people to be or not be vegan.
No, but I think if he has a room full of people that are on the cusp, then explaining that there are options, there are like all these different products that help make that transition easier, I think that is a very good point to
Do you
bring
think
up.
Do you think he got people to the precipice? Like, how many people in this room?
Oh, I am sure. I'm absolutely sure.
You think he convinced anyone in this room?
I think it maybe not yet, but I think that at least they're going to leave
Plants
this
a
room.
seed.
Yeah, plants a major seed.
See, I would be very intrigued. It's hard to know what exact age, but I mean, it's a college class. I feel like, I don't know. You should be open to expand your mind and learn some stuff, but you should know some stuff too. And I feel like if a guy just speaks for an hour about basic vegan theory, if he's able to convince you, like, something's wrong. Because you haven't thought about this yet.
Wheat, vegetables, grains, and spices. No chemicals. Contrary to the lies being spread about these products by the meat and dairy industry.
Bro, you can't get a buzz without the chemicals. That's some boring-ass bread. I need buzz in bread.
Blood, flesh, veins, muscles, and tendons. The cut-up corpse of a dismembered body.
Yeah, what happened to the guy who was talking about putting crack cocaine in a burger?
How in the world is a beverage?
Let's get that guy back.
Right?
Out of the udders of cows, a secretion that drips
talking
from
about
the
oozing
mammary
udders.
glands of another being that's loaded with pus. By
Like
the
our
way.
pedophile mothers.
Pus in your cow milk is my pleasure.
Gary,
when you hook machines up to
you
the udders
broke
of
up my
cows
family,
3 times
Gary.
a day to suck them dry. Those machines cause massive amounts of infections on
Damn
the
it, Gary.
inside and outside of the udder.
You fed me
Now
with
let's add all
what?
the bovine growth hormone they put in cows to make sure they produce huge quantities of milk, which always leads to another
Okay,
infection.
that
The
shit,
machine
the
doesn't know
hormone
what
shit
not to suck
is
out. Pus,
so
mucus, and
insidious.
infections ripen with your milk, and yeah, milk is pasteurized. But when did pasteurization become a removal process? It's a sanitation process. You're only sanitizing pus. And if you want to look this up online, well, you don't think the dairy industry would ever use the word pus when they write about this problem in their
genuinely
own trade journals.
don't know
Yeah,
how
I had to
true
see
or
you
not
again
true
with
that
this.
Oh, it's
Look up
very
the
true.
scientific term
Is
for
it?
pus.
Yeah.
Somatic
I assume
cell
there's some
count.
amount
By
of
the way,
pus, but
our government,
is
the USDA,
sterilized pus
they
still
allow the dairy
pus?
industry to have
Yeah, absolutely it
maximum
is.
amount.
But what makes pus pus? The bacteria? If you're sterilizing it, wouldn't it just be milk?
I thought it was the idea that it was a fluid that your body isn't pus something that your body's producing to like fight infection.
That's my understanding. So if you're sterilizing it, wouldn't it just be more milk? Like,
No, it's because that's the thing is it's not milk. You could say if you put paint in some milk and you sterilize it, it doesn't make it milk. It's still paint in your milk.
depends on if it drinks like that. That's some tasty milk.
What kind of almonds did you make this paint with?
I mean, it depends on percent pus, if you ask me.
It's 2% or 4%. Is it skim pus?
It's not even close. It's unfertilized, so it can't be either. Hen is a female, though.
Bro, I'll tell you this right now, I ain't ever giving up milk. I'm a little titty boy.
I forgot that you actually still drink dairy milk. Dairy milk
day.
fucking disgusts me.
I drink a protein shake or milk every day.
Which is so fucked up because I absolutely still fuck with ice cream and cheese. But like, milk as a beverage, it sounds like dairy milk as a beverage sounds disgusting.
Bro, I'll drink warm milk, cold milk. I'll gulp down that shit every day. It tastes good.
Fucking like macadamia milk, or like, I mean, even almond milk now. Almond milk doesn't suck as much as it used to, but
I
like,
love almond milk. I would be fine switching over to almond milk. Honestly.
I think it tastes better.
It tastes great. I love it.
Blood, flesh, veins, muscles, tendons, cow secretions, hen periods, and bee vomit. Now, we're not done yet. I am not going to let you off that easy while I got you here today. You know, we top this all off.
Is he saying honey is bad?
Because every November, during that certain
Remember,
holiday
one of
people
John's
love so much,
arguments was that
people take
he
a dead turkey,
didn't want to
open
eat
up the
honey
dead
only
turkey's
because
ass or
in
cut off
reality
really
a lot
big
of beef
hole in
farming
their
is still
ass.
pretty
Yeah,
brutal.
exactly. If you have a good apiary that is actually helping the bee population and doing good work,
It's a great thing.
yeah, you should support them 100%.
But if you're buying
Yeah,
honey
don't-
from Kroger, you have no idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I tell people one of my favorite meals nowadays.
The difference in cost, too, like the difference in cost between honey from a good location and honey from, that's mostly just sugar water anyways,
Yeah.
is very
I
different.
don't know, man, it's kind of weird. Okay. But somebody else's rib cage sitting on your plate isn't weird, doesn't make you think twice. Severed legs, sliced up thighs, and mutilated breasts sitting on
It
your
is
plate.
weird, but life's
Make you
weird.
think twice. And you want to know
I'm
why?
really both sidings this motherfucker.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's kind of a shitty argument, too.
Those blinders are on nice and tightly, aren't they?
Take my blinders off,
Now,
Gary.
Most of you were perturbed at me when the speech began, and I accused everybody of having blinders on. I am not here to be your enemy.
Take them off, Gary.
I am here to call you out, though. You might have had a pretty good excuse before I got here of being uninformed and
Now
misinformed.
you're stripped naked
Okay,
without your blinders.
that's fair. Honestly, well, I was the same way for a long time. I'm kind of curious, though. What's the excuse now?
Ooh, fuck.
Oh, shit, Gary?
You got a choice today. When you leave this room,
Care Bear don't
you
care
can
about your
choose
feelings.
To be radically kind.
Give you the
Never
Care Bear
to
stare.
intentionally harm another animal for breakfast, lunch, or dinner ever again. And these creatures have never harmed you,
Bro,
violated
squirrels
you,
have beat
or
me up
taken
every day
advantage
of my
you in
life.
any way, shape,
Listen,
or
dog, I
form.
just bought like
The
a
least
half
you
pound
can
of
do is
turkey lunch
return it.
meat in my fridge, and like I make college student wages. I can't let that go bad. I gotta live on that.
Make
See,
sure
I'll
Honestly,
try
to me,
veganism
that
next
sounds
week.
disgusting.
Make sure they never experience
You buy
a drop
cold
of
cuts?
human
I do actually, yeah.
Make sure
Ugh.
the babies are stolen from them.
That's
I get bored of that. I
disgusting.
get
How
the good
could you
shit.
do that to that turkey?
Make sure there's a knife in their throat.
Bro, that's an
every
innocent
second of every
turkey.
day for eternity.
No, you don't know that.
I really hope
Stacked and layered thin. It's a horizontal turkey.
Horizontal turkey. That turkey could have committed war crimes. You don't know.
Something on the dairy industry as it pertains directly to cows. We talked about the pus in cow milk, which is gross.
Yeah, thanks,
We
Gary.
talked about the unhealthiness of consuming dairy products, but we have yet to focus on what the cows.
You made me watch that horrific video. I'll be thinking about that for weeks. Thanks, Gary.
Isn't about your health. That would be selfish.
Yeah, that one does stick.
Yeah, it's hard to get out of your head, huh?
Maybe
that's the point.
Do something kind for somebody else, and when you do
got me
that,
again,
don't
Gary.
expect something in return. But when it comes to cruelty, I think there's more cruelty in a glass of milk than a steak.
I don't buy that argument ever. That milk is worse than the meat. That's saying
You're only the
torture
11th
is worse than
class to see
killing.
what I'm about to show.
We can argue neither are good, but I don't think I can necessarily buy. Maybe I can. Torture can be worse than killing.
Yeah.
You got me, Gary. God damn, he's going into another video.
Oh shit.
Let us off the hook, Gary.
God
Oh
damn.
my god. Fuck Gary. Okay, we just watched a cow get hammered. You know what? This is not the greatest speech ever told. This is... No, it's the most important speech ever told.
Yeah.
I forgot. wasn't gonna let us go out soft. He's...
Gonna fuck this dude up.
Yeah, that cow would. Okay, they edited that for sure. Oh, this is in Ohio? You know, Gary's from Michigan.
Oh, I thought he was from Canada.
Maybe I he lived in Michigan. I can't remember if he was born there. The fur farm raid was in Ontario.
He went across international borders.
Yeah, but I think I might be mistaken, but he's definitely lived in Michigan and done a lot of things there. He's a bit of a local legend.
Oh, fuck this dude up.
Yeah. These guys that abuse the animals in these places, they have to go to prison, right? Like, honestly, I doubt most of them do, but they all fucking should. Oh yeah, broke his tail, stabbed it, cool. These are some miserable, hillbilly, stupid Ohio pieces of shit.
Beat the fuck out of this cow. We stabbed her, broke her tail 3 places, kept stabbing her ass, beat her. Next day, Gary said we're gonna send her a beef because she had mastitis on her. Couldn't get her in the parlor. We beat the fuck. I mean, I drug that cow in the barn base and I beat that fucker till her face was like this big around.
Okay, realistically, is milking, do you think on the average, actually as brutal as slaughter? Like, I actually don't know.
I don't know. I have no idea.
John thinks so, and I do believe he probably knows more.
Well, here's what I can say is these guys haven't milked a single goddamn cow.
But they've done a lot of mutilating.
Yeah, just absolutely just fucked up, just pointless, absolutely pointless.
Okay, for the sake of argument, I'll go back to one of the points earlier. I don't think anyone taught these pieces of shit to beat cows like this. Like, this is the part of me where, like, I get some of this could be taught, maybe other employees did a little bit, but these people have this, like, evil nature in them as well.
I will say what they have been taught is it's okay and they get away with it.
That is true. That is true. Well, there we go, 50-50. Part of it's trained, part of it's natural. Because you have to have both for this situation ever to occur.
Because there's no way they just walked in there and if someone else was already doing that and they saw that and they were like, okay, cool, I can do that. There's no way that there wasn't a fucked up piece of them already.
Not an isolated incident.
Yeah.
Don't for 1 minute think that this is an isolated incident. This is how slaves are treated.
Absolutely.
You don't really think that slaves get treated nicely, do you? You really think white people were nice when they shipped black people over here on ships? You don't think Nazis were nice when they walked Jews and gypsies into the gas chambers, do you? And this happens because you want to buy those products. Yeah, that guy's a scumbag for doing that. But he's doing that because you want to eat what comes out of her body. And enough already. You're not a caveman,
this is where I
and you're not a
agree with
cavewoman
him, but
anymore.
I don't know.
Stop acting like Neanderthals.
I don't know if,
this is
as a
2010.
species, we truly can be elevated.
It's not cute.
He's asking me to believe something that I might wish to be true, but I don't know is possible.
It's not your freedom to do this to them. You don't get to have freedom when somebody else doesn't. That's a violation. And if you wonder why vegans get so upset sometimes, like I am right now, you just saw some of it. Every time we show up at a farm, somebody's punching, kicking, and stabbing somebody. And something else that I'm curious about, how come when I show videos like this of people punching and kicking animals, people are more upset with that than when they shove a knife in their throat? So even if you find a farm where they're not punching and kicking, when they shove a knife in their throat or put a bullet between their eyes, how is that not cruelty? Did you know that 90% of hamburger meat in America comes from the dairy industry?
Is that the...
When cows no longer give huge
Where does
amounts
the
of milk
10%
after
come
3 to
from?
7 years,
I don't know.
Like,
He might be right.
if ever given a
Non-milk-giving
chance, cows can live to be 18 to 25. And cows are like all female mammals. I am not trying to talk down to you when I speak about animal issues. It's just that people don't
Like, that
think that
feels a little
animals go
finky.
through the same things, the same emotions that you go through, that we all go through. In order for a female mammal to give milk, she has to be pregnant.
Does that mean...
Cows that are no longer of use for milk. So now they become meat.
Gotcha. Okay. That is interesting context. So we basically are torturing them till they no longer can be milked and then we're meeting them.
Yeah.
90% of the time, he's saying.
Yeah.
Every year, every cow on every dairy farm is raped. A long steel device shoved in their vaginas to inject them with bull semen, or sometimes they use a bare hand. This forces the milk flow.
Yeah, the breeding
And
is
after
fucked.
she
Yeah.
gives birth, babies are stolen. And let me tell you something, the worst scream I have ever heard, and I've heard them all firsthand. When I started finding out about this stuff, a little over 15 years ago, I was like everybody else. I didn't believe it was that bad. I thought everybody was exaggerating. But unlike everybody else who just blows it aside, brushes it off, I actually went to see what was going on. I spent 6 weeks at Thornapple Valley Pig Slaughterhouse in Detroit in 1993. I broke into animal research laboratories. I broke into fur farms. I went behind the scenes of every circus and every rodeo that ever came through Michigan.
Damn.
Worst scream I have ever heard. A mother cow on a dairy farm. As she screams and bellows her lungs out day after day for her stolen baby to be given back to her. And I can only imagine the same scream every woman in this room would make if somebody held you down after birth and stole your newborn baby from you. And why did they take babies away from their mom? Well, the dairy industry can't have little babies sucking up all that milk that was meant for them when they'd rather sell it to you instead. Every time you have a glass of cow milk, some calf is not.
That's fucked.
And mother cows make milk for one reason anyways. During Q&A we're about to have, you can ask me whatever you want. I'm no politician. Bring up anything. If you went online before I got here, saw my radical essays that got me kicked out of countries, bring them up. There's one question. I will not entertain them. You cannot ask me why cows make milk, thus if it's good for us. Shouldn't we be feeding it to our kids, Gary? Shouldn't we be having it? Nature took care of this one at the beginning of time. Cows make milk for their babies and for their babies alone. Case is closed forever, permanently. No debate, no discussion. They don't make milk for baby elephants.
I don't know.
Baby
I do.
orangutans, baby
I respect the
hedgehogs,
things
baby
he's
rabbits,
done, though.
baby rats,
That-
baby humans,
even just the
adolescent
curiosity.
humans, adult
Yeah.
humans. This
To
body
know
of
things
ours
for
has
himself.
absolutely no
Even if he
need
might
for
be a
cow
little
milk, like it has
cheesy.
absolutely no need for giraffe milk. And zebra
I
milk and
appreciate
rhinoceros milk, hippopotamus milk,
the
camel
lengths
milk,
he's
deer
gone
milk,
to
antelope
to
milk, horse milk, pig milk, dog milk, or cat milk.
stand for what he
The
believes.
only
Oh,
milk that
quite
we
a
ever
bit,
need
honestly.
is our own mother's breast milk when we're born. That's it. And when we're done weaning, we never need one drop of milk ever again. No species on this planet needs milk after they're done weaning. But if you want to include some kind of milk in your diet like I do, let me reiterate the good news. Soy milk, rice milk, almond milk, hemp milk, coconut milk, oat milk, hazelnut milk. I promise you will like one of those 7 vegan milks. Remember, when you go veg, you don't give up anything. You got the vegan version of stuff, or eat things that are truly natural, like fruits, and vegetables, beans, and lentils, and seeds. I want to thank everybody for listening with an open mind.
I feel like that was the idea of like when you eat, go into eating veggie stuff, that you don't miss anything. Like making that claim in 2010, like I said, like obviously they had tons of products back then, but that is so much more true now than it used to be. The
Yeah.
idea that like there are so many just not just the store-bought products, but like recipes that you have access to at your fingertips that are very, very easy to like make your own fake meat if you want to, or make something that is comparable in nutrition to, you know, a heavy, like a meat dish, you know, if you're looking for certain results, if you're looking for certain tastes. Like, obviously it is much harder to be a vegan chef. What my experience has taught me is that anyone who is a mediocre vegan chef is still better than a great chef who works, you know, who like talks shit on vegans and whatever. Because if you can't use butter and cheese and meat and all this other shit to like make your food taste good, like those people are lost because they have no experience with it. Where at least even a mediocre vegan chef,
You have to dig deeper.
yeah, they have so much more experience with so many more ingredients. And most of the time, those chefs have also, like, they've had meat. It's not that they've been vegan their entire life. Sometimes it's true, but like in my case, like I obviously have had meat before. I know how to I know the end result that I'm looking for if I'm trying to make something that is similar to meat. But like it was such a fun challenge, and I thought it was the craziest shit when I'd go on chef boards and they'd be talking shit on like vegans don't deserve Thanksgiving dinner and shit like that. It's like, okay, if you can't make a vegan version of, or even a vegetarian version of, you know, some like vegan or some Thanksgiving like dishes and side things for like family that comes over that's vegan or vegetarian now, like, you're a shitty chef. You're just not good at your job. And the fact that you're complaining about it proves my point.
That's really interesting. Throughout this, I kind of kept going back to wishing we were more evolved than I feel like we are, where as when I say like the greater animal or bigger animal, very figuratively, like I like the idea of us not needing to resort to the more brutal behavior, and maybe in a lot of ways like the evolution of cooking, of the products, of better tastes, better recipes, but the convenience to do vegetarian, vegan eating, the accessibility of new foods like the Beyond Burgers and things. Maybe that really is the evolution I've kept going back to. So that kind of changes my perspective of it a bit. I think my final thoughts, part of me just so strongly feels that it is our animal nature to eat the lesser animals, despite my want to evolve beyond that. And it's kind of nice going back watching this to see how much things have changed, even since his speech.
Yeah.
I think a lot of other people kind of feel this thought, where it's really hard for me to care about the world or myself enough to stop eating shitty or to eat the lesser animals, where it's not that I want to be doing the things I am, but that it's hard to care enough. Like the world is a shitty place, and I think I really do respect Gary, but I think Gary and a lot of other vegans kind of underestimate part of the human nature is just shitty too. And I'm going to eat whatever's easiest for me to get through another day of bullshit. Yeah. I really feel, fuck we're meant to eat plants. We're meant to eat whatever we can get. We're opportunists. And I truly do respect the discipline of vegans I've known. I've known a lot of cool vegans. I respect what they do. I love a lot of vegan food. But there is something that bothers me with their ideology. And what that is for me, and I think a lot of other people feel it, whether it's knowingly or unknowingly, is what they really want from you is hope.
Mm-hmm.
Vegans aren't just asking people to change the food they consume. They're asking you to have the hope that changing what you eat matters. And I think that's something a lot of people struggle with, certainly myself included.
Mm-hmm.
And I can fully agree with the ethics and morality and know that I may often be living at odds against it. And that's part of the reason I enjoy the philosophy of it and diving into it, in part maybe in hopes to stoke a change. But I think it's really hard to convince people to have hope that the change matters. And I think for me that's probably like at my most honest where that, which I mean, of course it's an excuse, but it is really hard to feel like making what would be a change that is harder to get through the day. Yeah. Not that it always would be, but initially for sure.
It's very difficult to start.
Yeah, and to feel like that matters at all.
Yeah.
And I know like I'm a weird or depressed person, whatever, but I think a lot of people, it feels like, yes, we know the system's fucked up. Yes, we know it's kind of natural to do some of these things. Maybe we can be evolved beyond it, and it's getting easier to be evolved beyond it. But also, what the fuck does it matter? And I don't think that's right, but that's definitely how I feel, and I think a lot of other people feel that too.
I would like to offer, go out on the short offer of some options if you are considering trying to go vegan.
Oh, we just heard Gary.
Let me say this. I think people usually try to go fully into it and like just like dive straight into it and like cut meat out entirely. That's a bad idea. If you can do it, that's great. That's cool, but it's super unlikely. Trust me, like I know, like I'm not vegan. I've kind of tried before. It's very difficult to get into it. I've worked at vegan restaurants and I've still found it difficult. Yeah, like do the Meatless Mondays thing. Like it's goofy and it sounds funny, but like that's exactly a good way to start it. Like just have one day where you don't eat any meat, and just one day a week where you eat vegan, and then or maybe your first step is like I'm going to cut out pork, or just cut out one animal type, like whatever, something. Like just baby steps all the way through. And then like reach, you can even get down to, okay, now I'm at vegetarianism or I'm at pescatarianism. And it's like, I still have trouble with the cheese. And it's like, it's baby steps.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing is people try to dive into it and you can't just do that. One, to your head, your what you're expecting, but also your body. Like your body's used to certain things, and like changing too much, you can feel sick or feel tired and depressed, and like you can change your body makeup doing that. So like slow, steady changes.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I enjoyed this little foray into the mind of a mink thief. He's really a mink liberator.
Yeah, true.
They called him a thief, and I think it's a catchy little title. I'm sure he's proud of it. And I felt we could, he's an activist. He wants his words heard. I felt okay using this speech because I respect it. There's a lot of things, made a lot of jokes. There's a lot of things I disagree with, but I think it's interesting, provocative, and pretty cool.
Pretty cool Gary, shit, man.
Yeah.
Nice work, Gary.
It is kind of a bummer. He is pretty much retired now because he like had a writing about it, but he got too angry and burnt out and felt like he gave more than he could afford to give and is too basically disgusted with humanity to stay
dude,
engaged politically.
That's a super fair reason.
I feel it, yeah.
I hella don't blame him on that. That's one of the most honest things I think I've ever heard.
Yeah. Very
I resonate
interesting,
with that, Gary.
So, yep, we got some interesting things ahead, and appreciate you, Trashcats, sticking around.
Yeah, thanks again for listening, everybody. And thank you to Approaching Human for the use of his music. You can find his work on SoundCloud at Approaching-Human.
Thanks, John, our resident musician and vegan. Appreciate you.
For that album. Make sure to check out the show page at Trashcats on Instagram for news and arts from the show. Check out Facebook for the memes.
If you're super bored, you can check out my trashy art on Instagram at SkyZX, and yeah, interesting stuff ahead for sure.
That's going to be all for us today. Stay classy, eat trashy.
Fast, eat trash. That's when I take out my vegan AR-15 and gun down the whole restaurant.